All right, hey folks, I'm back again. Uh, so, what I'm doing tonight is I'm going to walk you through uh, basic sun salutation and then some space opening postures and some fire postures. Um, from an elemental perspective, fire helps with digestion as well as other things, but for me, because of health issues, my focus on fire is using it for digestion. And space supports fire, and the basic sun salutation is, like the foundation of any yoga practice. So I want to share with you those three components. I do want to say a couple things up front. One is that I'm going to show you the basic sun salutation, and then normally, when I'm doing my practice, when you're doing your practice, when other people are doing their practice, you build on that basic sun salutation. So I would add in, um, boat pose or warrior pose or other things as I'm going up and down from the floor and, finishing sun salutations. And if you need some more clarity on that, please reach out to me and I'll do that, or I'll do another video. And I may even towards the end of this one just kind of put it all together so you can see what a flow would look like. But for the sake of time and for this video, I'm not going to do a sun salutation every time I add a pose or two in. I'm just going to show you each of the poses once I show you the basic sun salutation. A couple other things. I will try to talk about modifications for some of the poses as we're going along. So if there's something that's too difficult or that some days, there's some days I feel better than I do others. And, I may not use a modification most days, but then one day if I'm not feeling very well or strong, I may use a modification. So I'll try to talk about those. You may have a knee injury and you need to take it easy for a couple of weeks or a few sessions. Um, uh, I'm not going to get caught up in names of postures. Um, I've never placed a lot of value on that myself. It's more about just doing and about maintaining my breath. In the comments or in the description of the video, I will list out the names of the poses so that you have that in case that's valuable to you, or just so you know what you're talking about or know what you're looking for if you want to go search some of it out on the internet, that kind of thing. Um, Always do what's right for you. Um, we're all built different, we're all made different, we all feel different from day to day. Uh, what I do today, I might not feel like doing tomorrow. What is too hard for me today might be easy for me 2 weeks from now. Don't be in competition with anybody else. Don't even be in competition with yourself. Just focus on where you're at. Just accept that this is where I'm at right now. If you want more, then continue to practice and get more. If you're happy with where you're at, then do what works for you and be happy where you're at. I've spent a great deal of time in my life worrying about how people are seeing me, how good or bad I'm doing something, and have been so caught up in that so often that I've neglected to do things that I really wanted to do, and have often neglected to follow my passions, and then have been in a place of resentment or anger toward myself or others that I've not even really done the things that I view society or other people thinks I should do. And so I've, like just kind of stayed stuck in many ways. And, and at the same time, I've accomplished and have done a great deal of things that I'm very proud of. But just want to be clear that this is about caring for myself. Hopefully for you, it's about caring for yourself. And it's not about caring what other people think or how we look to others. Um, Maintain your breath. I mentioned that. That's important. And knocking on the door. What I mean by that is I was taught years ago, even before I did yoga teacher training, when I was taking classes, uh, there was this theme that came up with Will, my friend, who I had as an instructor for a long time. And I've also heard others say it, probably that have gotten it from him. But the idea is that, when you're trying to get into a stretch, you don't want to go busting into it. You don't want to force it. You're not a SWAT team busting down doors, trying to get into a house. You'll hurt yourself. You just want to knock on the door. You just want to say, hey, I'm here. Feel a little stretch, and stick with that. And if you stick with that, then eventually that stretch will get deeper and deeper. And depending how often you practice, how slow or fast you practice, what type of practice you have, will determine, how long it takes you to get deeper in that stretch. But you're not going to get deeper in it if you try to force yourself into it and then you end up hurting yourself. So please keep that in mind. There may be other things I want to say as this video goes on. Those were just some really important things I jotted down that I didn't want to forget sharing. And now I'm going to start by showing you the basic Sun Salutation. I'm going to do it facing you and then facing the side so that you can see it from different angles. When I do it from the side, you're still probably not going to see my legs very well. In order to capture this on the camera, I have it straight up and down because otherwise you don't see my head and my whole body. And I'm not sure which is better or worse, but this is how I chose to do it tonight. So basic Sun Salutation, you start in Mountain Pose, hands in prayer position, crown of the head is reaching towards the sky, shoulders are reaching down towards the floor, and you're going to inhale, reach your fingers, tilt your head back, reach your fingers to the sky, push through your toes and your heel into the floor. Exhale, come down, either come down with a flat back as I'm doing here and then begin to round when you can't stay flat anymore, or start from the base of your neck, folding down one vertebra at a time, and that's on your exhale. Then you're going to inhale to a flat back. Then you're going to exhale all in one motion. You're going to exhale, bending your knees, stepping or jumping. I tend to jump back into plank, down to the floor, and up into Cobra. All of that happens in one exhale. And then you're going to inhale once you get here. And then you're going to exhale into down dog. And then you're going to inhale, jumping or walking your feet back between your hands, coming to a flat back. Exhale, bringing the forehead towards the knees. Inhale, reaching back up to the sky, pushing through the floor. Exhale, back to prayer. Okay? I think so that maybe you can see my legs better, my feet. I'm going to move over this way a little bit on this next one, and we'll see how this works. So, again, hands in prayer and Mountain Pose. Inhale, exhale, and so you can see it from the side. This is coming down with a flat back, rounding when I get down here. Or starting at the base of the neck, roll down one vertebrae at a time. And that's on your exhale. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, walk or jump your feet back into plank. Lower down. And you can see my toes are planted when I'm in plank. But when I get down here and I go up into Cobra, My feet, the tops of my feet are then on the floor, and I'm pushing up. And that's all in one exhale. Then I'm inhaling, and then I'm exhaling, planting my toes again, and pushing up into down dog. And then I'm inhaling, walking, or jumping my feet back between my hands with a flat back. Then I'm exhaling, bringing my forehead to my knees, inhaling, reaching to the sky, pushing my feet through the floor, exhaling back to prayer. So that is the basic sun salutation. So after you have that, then when you add other things in, so like one of the fire poses, for example, is plank. So then when I get down on the floor, I'm not going to take that exhale all the way into Cobra. I'm going to stay in plank and do 3 to 5 breaths in plank, maybe more or less, depending on, again, how strong you happen to be feeling that day or how new or experienced you are, whatever. And then after I did my 3 to 5 breaths in plank, then I would, on my last exhale, I would go the rest of the way into Cobra, and then I would go into down dog, and then I would go back up to standing and finish out my sun salutation. Then on my next sun salutation, maybe I want to add in chair pose. So after I go up on my exhale, instead of folding over, I would go into chair pose. But then after I do my 3 to 5 breaths in chair pose, then on my exhale, I would go ahead and finish going down and going through the rest of the sun salutation and coming back up. So that's how that would normally work in a regular practice. And sometimes, depending on the poses you're doing and what your goal is, you may add a couple of different postures into the into one round of sun salutation. So that's all up to you. But I'm not going to do that with each of these poses because there's several I want to get through, and I don't want this video to be, a full hour and 15 minutes long, because I might not keep everybody's attention. The first thing that we learn the basic sun salutation, which is also in and of itself a fire practice. Anytime you're using your arms a lot and engaging your core, that's a fire practice. But then I also want to specifically do some space openers, and the first of those is going to be a Delsarte practice, which is an arm decomposition. And if you want to know more about Delsarte, you can look it up. I encourage you to look up Joe Williams on Facebook. He's in New York. He studied at Juilliard. He's done a lot here at the Cincinnati Yoga School. I've taken 3 workshops from him, including a weekend during my teacher training. And Will, the owner here, has studied with him for a long time, and Will teaches some Delsarte. So if you want to learn more about that, you can. But arm decomposition is the first thing we're going to do. And how that works is on an inhale, I'm going to bring my arm up like this. Hopefully, my screen looks dark. I'm hoping this is showing up good and you can see it. If not, I'll have to figure something else out. I may have to put a spotlight on myself. And my shoulder is the only thing engaged in this part of my arm. The elbow down to here is loose. It's limp. And then on an inhale, I'm going to engage my elbow and extend my arm. On my next inhale, I'm going to engage my wrist. My next inhale, I'm going to engage and extend my fingers, stretching them wide, reaching out. Then on my next exhale, I'm going to release my fingers. I'm going to release my wrist on the next exhale. On the next exhale, I'm going to release my elbow. And on the next exhale, I'm going to let my arm drop. Now, just doing that one time, I can feel, and maybe you can see, how one of my arms, this one, is longer than the other. And so for the sake of time, I'm going to move to the left arm now. But normally I would do that sequence 3 times on one arm, and then I would move to the next arm and do it 3 times on that one. I am going to do it on this arm still, even though I'm trying to save time, because you always want to do the same thing on both sides to keep your body balanced. So inhale, exhale, inhale, inhale. Next inhale, stretch my fingers. Then on my next exhale, let my fingers go limp. Next exhale, my wrist. Next exhale, my elbow. Next exhale, my arm comes down. Okay? The next space opener is for the shoulders. So I'm going to bring my right arm across my chest, and I'm going to cup it with my left arm. So basically my right elbow is going to be in the crease of my left arm. And I'm going to pull in till I'm feeling a stretch. Again, you're just knocking on the door. You're not trying to bust it down. And then once I have that in position, I'm going to breathe into this right shoulder, and I'm going to do that 3 to 5 breaths. And then I'm going to hold my last inhale, and as I hold that breath, I'm going to push my right elbow into my left forearm. Again, just knocking on the door, not beating it down. And then I'm going to push on that for the count of 3 to 5, and then I'm going to release. And then I'm going to follow that same process with the other arm. I'm not counting breaths and doing an actual 3 to 5 breaths or anything right now for the sake of time, but I'm pushing into my elbow and releasing. Next, we're going to step our feet out about shoulder width apart, and we're just going to start to sway a little bit, creating some space in the hips and the waist. And you want to get going a little faster. You don't want to go fast right away. You don't want to pull something, but you can get going a little faster. Bend those knees a little bit. Let yourself twist around. And you want to be kind of like a rag doll. Like you want your arms really limber and loose, like a piece of spaghetti, boiled spaghetti. You know, imagine if your arm detached from your shoulder. Hopefully it doesn't. But imagine if your arm detached from your shoulder and slung over and hit the wall. It would just kind of slap and stick like a piece of boiled spaghetti. And then do that, you know, I typically do that for about 5 to 10 breaths, maybe longer. Sometimes I don't even count breaths, but then slowly come to a stop. And then what we're going to do next is a side bend. So you can put your hand on your waist for extra support if you want. You can leave your hand straight and just bend. And this is about as far as I can go. I don't know what it is, but there's something that I feel engage over here. It's like some type of pressure, almost a pinching kind of feeling. So I can't go over as far on my left side, but it's far enough that I'm feeling a stretch. I can go a little further, and then I'm going to bring my hand out in front of me, my right arm, and bring it over. But then I feel that more, so I got to back off a little bit. So again, this is where it's important to listen to your body and to just knock on the door, not trying to bust anything down because you don't want to hurt yourself. I'm going to hold that for 3 to 5 breaths, and then I'm going to come out of it. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Again, you can put your hand on your waist if you want it for extra support, or leave it down. See, this side I can go much further and I don't feel that. And then I'll bring my arm out, 3 to 5 breaths, and bring it back down. And Star Pose is another space opener. And I'm looking at my paper because I've been working on this routine, looking at several different asanas and things, and talking to a couple people, and putting this practiced together for a little over a week now, and it just kind of culminated over the last couple of days what poses I liked and wanted to put in it. And so I don't have them all committed to memory yet, so I'm looking at this paper as I share this with you. Another good space opener is Camel Pose. What you do with that, I'm going to turn to the side. You sit on your knees, you plant your toes into the floor, and then you're going to reach over your head with one arm, put it on your heel, and then reach over with the others. And you want to reach your heart chakra to the sky, creating space. Come out of that, and you come out of that, relax if you need to. If you have a ledge or something in your house, or you can use blocks to put under your legs to bring them up higher. If that's too much of a stretch going back for you like this, you can find some way to support that. Another good space element posture is fish pose. And with fish pose, you just lay on the floor, palms flat on the floor, and then you just slide your palms under your buttocks. So one on each side. They tend to fit pretty well. And then you bring your elbows in close to your side, almost under your back, as close to your side as you can get them. And then you push through your elbows to raise up. Head just falls back. Again, reach your heart chakra to the sky. It's a good one to create space. And the last one that I want to work on, this is a kind of a growing edge for me. I will attempt to show it to you, but it is shoulder stands. So going back on your shoulders, getting your elbows up behind you, and then reaching up. Doing it fairly well right now. I'm feeling good about that. And then come out of that. And that's all the space element postures. And so then we're going to move into the fire element postures. And the first is plank. And so plank is, basically the flat place of a push-up. So just going to hold yourself in plank. But you want your hands spread, fingers spread wide on the floor, toes planted, and you want to push through your fingers. You're pushing through your fingers. Actually, the push comes from the shoulders. And just imagine your skeleton pushing all the way through your fingers. You'll feel your muscles engaged. Your toes are planted on the floor, just like they would be for down dog. Keeping your back as flat as possible, trying to make a bit of a straight line, and you're just holding that. This is also, many of these fire asanas are also good for strengthening the core, which is good for protecting the lower back. So that is plank. Then boat pose. I'll go ahead and do boat pose since I'm on the floor. So boat pose is you're sitting on your buttocks, and this is another one that is a growing edge for me, which is part of the reason I added it, because it's an asana I want to practice. But your legs are up in the air, and your arms reach forward. I'm not going to be able to do this well. My core just isn't strong enough. But you want to be kind of on your sits bones. Your arms are out, and your legs are up, and you want to try to learn to hold that. Now, I'm bending my knees. That's a modification you can do to make it a little easier till you get stronger. That's what I will do. It's not really boat pose, but you could do one leg at a time as a modification. So until you build up the core strength to be able to do it more. And that's perfectly okay. Upward plank. So Hands are flat on the floor, fingers are facing your buttock, a little out to the side. You can play with where the best hand position is for you. I have to play with it a little bit when I do this, but you want your hands planted, and then you're going to bend one of your knees. I'm going to bend my right leg first, and then you push through your hands, lifting your buttocks and lifting your core towards the sky, reaching to the sky with your core. And then if you're feeling strong, you can extend that other leg out and hold it. And when you come out of it, just try to give yourself some support. And again, this is perfectly acceptable, perfectly fine. This is how I do the majority of the pose. I do always try to put my leg out and get a little bit in with both legs out, but this is a perfectly acceptable modification. You want to make sure you do that on both sides. The leg bent, and then with the leg out. And this again is not only a good fire practice, it's working my arms good. Anything that works the arms good is a good fire practice, but it's also strengthening my core, and I can feel the muscles in my back engaging. And the stronger your core is, the stronger your lower back's going to be, the more it's going to be protected. There's only a couple more poses left, 3 to be exact. And the next one is side plank. So I'm basically just rolling from this seated position. I'm just rolling to my side. My arm is kind of at almost at a straight line, but a little bit of an angle. And my right leg is bent behind my left leg. My left leg is on the floor. And I'm going to use my right hand to get me a start. And we're just going to raise up off the floor. And then push through our left arm. Reach to the sky with our right hand and look to the sky. And then if you're feeling strong, you feel good, you can bring that right leg over top the left ankle, cross it, and be just on your one arm and your leg. And that's a great fire asana. And you can stay modified with it. You can stay like this. You can stay like this, using this leg for support. All of it is acceptable. You don't have to reach to the sky. It's a good thing to work towards. But if you're comfortable just staying here, if you need a little support on your hip, wherever in that space feels good to you, that's where you stay. And then as you get stronger, as you improve, then you go further and deeper into it. I'm going to do a little on this side just to keep my body evened out. If you're new to yoga, you will realize quickly that you notice a difference when you do something on one side and don't do it on the other. I notice it right away. And of course, it doesn't have to be the exact. And there is another modification for that. I think that's actually a different pose, though. Don't tell anybody. Okay, and for the last 2 poses, we're going to go back to standing. One is reverse lunge. So you put your right leg out or left leg out front. You want to create space here so that you can lean into it, but you don't ever want your knee to go past your ankle. That creates weakness and you're risking energy. This back foot is kind of like an angle this way. It's not straight out this way. It's not facing back. It's not all the way facing forward. You just want it at a little bit of a diagonal from your body. This foot straight out in front of you. And just, you'll play with it a little bit and see where it feels comfortable for you, where you feel sturdy, there's enough space, you're feeling a little bit of a stretch, and yet your knee is not going past your ankle. And then my right leg is forward, So I'm going to take my left elbow, I'm going to put my hands together in prayer. I'm going to bring my left elbow to the right side of my right knee. And then I'm going to point my left elbow, or my right elbow, towards the sky, and I'm going to look up to the sky myself. And same thing on the other side, except now my left leg is forward, so it is my right elbow that is going to come to the left side of my left knee, this elbow facing, pointing towards the sky, and me looking back at it. And the final fire pose that I want to share that is going to be a part of my routine is chair pose. So basically you're just bending at the knees, letting your buttocks come down, reaching your hands up. You can stop wherever it feels right to you, if it's right here, if it's right here, if it's all the way down here. And if you don't want or don't feel strong enough to have your hands out in front of you, you can put them on your knees for support. Sometimes in the middle of it, I will bring my hands down to my knees for support. That is perfectly acceptable. Another thing you can do, which I would like to show you, but without being disruptive with the camera and everything, I really can't. But if you have a clear wall in your house, you can put your back against the wall, put your feet out about 6 or 8 inches from the wall, and you'll find what feels comfortable for you. But then keep your back against the wall and just slide down the wall. And that wall will offer support to make that pose a little easier. So that's it. That's my fire practice. And basic sun salutation. So, as I think I said in the description or the comments, I will type some of this up so you have the names and you know kind of what's what. And